Hi Scorpio, welcome to your week ahead tarot with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, my readings are for your sun, moon and ascendant signs. So whether you're a sun, moon or rising sign Scorpio, this is for you. And I always advise that you watch all three to get a clearer, more complete picture of how they're going to speak to you. With that said, remember they are general readings. Not everything's going to resonate with everybody, and that is just fine. You should always use your own discernment. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So your key to the week this week is the Empress card. Beautiful, right? Absolutely, literally beautiful. The thing that I love most about the Empress card is it tends to show up. The Empress is a lady, darling. She wants ease, she wants connection, she wants sensuality, she wants all of those things that are easy. And whatever it is that we have going on in our lives, whatever we're trying to do to welcome in, or whatever is even present, it has to be the best that it can be. The Empress card here suggests that this is about you really getting into the earth, getting into the grit this week. Hard work sometimes can be the most thing, right? Sometimes working, you know, like those moments where you work really hard on something and when you step back, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to pinch my own butt on this one. I'm really proud. You know, it's a poor example, but you get my point. Sometimes, however, this requires us to get down and dirty, and I kind of feel like this week it really is about having the most sensual experience that you can have. That doesn't necessarily mean sexual. What I mean is it's about really doing something to the point that you genuinely feel it. It's not enough. One thing that I will say with the Empress, because it can represent vanity, depending on what it falls with, it can also represent greed, you know, like lash for the sake of it, like luxury for the, you know, where something goes beyond opulent and becomes tacky. Do you know what I mean? Like a gold toilet. Like, I just can't. I can't. Anyway, sorry, I digress. You get my point about this. What I'm saying here is, this week you have to get into something enough to truly feel it in the depths of who you are. It's not going to be enough to scratch the surface. It's not going to be enough for you to just you know, to do what, you know, to do the bare minimum. This week you have to show up in the depths. You will have to forgive me. I've got a fan on. That's why my t-shirt is billowing out. That's what the hum in the background is. I'm currently melting. It's really hot here in the UK, but I'm not going to complain because loving the sunshine. For your if you are a continued subby, you know Ruffy loves you. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit the subscribe button. For your actions and options, you have the Moon card coupled with the Empress. So for a lot of you, I kind of feel like this is a second go at the apple, something that you had decided or tried to do, you're going back over, and it might be in a time frame that you hadn't expected. So maybe this is that you're bringing back a service, maybe you're going back to school, like it's like something from your past is coming back into the fold, and it's coming in a way that you really hadn't expected, which I actually think is quite nice. The other thing as well, this might be something maybe that you previously had already worked really hard on and it just went nowhere. It suddenly has the chance to do something now. It suddenly has the chance for you to pick up where you left off. And what I mean by that is hard work and all. Right? It's not just going to be, oh yeah, now this thing has a chance to work, so it can, you know, you can just put it out into the world and done. The hard work that you exhibited the first time round, you will have to continue with that in order to get the goods and the juice out of it, but it is there. For your communications and conversations, you've got the Hierophant, or the High Priest in this deck. This is quite big. I mean, look at these energies so far, right? We're 2 for 2 out of the 4 cards that you're going to get for major arcana cards, which suggests that your actions this week, there's something very big or very potentially fated about those. The Hierophant card with your communications is also A lot of the conversations that you're having this week will have big weight around them. This could be where you're having conversations with banks, financial institutions, especially because you've got the Empress here. For some of you, this could be as mundane as you're planning a trip to a cathedral or somewhere that is considered really beautiful. For some of you, it suggests that you are going to either an ancestral or a sacred site of some kind. So this could be a week where you decide, you know what, like here in the UK for us, it's like Stonehenge, Avebury, the Rolling Right Stones. There's another one that I can't remember. But yeah, you know, those kinds of places. But for a lot of you, you could be having these kinds of conversations or planning those kinds of trips. For those of you that are studying or in some form of academia, I think this is a week where you're starting to realize that something maybe that you had pursued previously was a bit more style than substance, and now you will start to adjust and adapt accordingly, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I will say some of the ideas that you have, maybe this is that you've been trying to appeal to, you know, no, that's the wrong word. Maybe you've been trying to appeal to the more traditional, and now you're starting to see, okay, that had value, but it doesn't really fit with what I'm trying to do now. For those of you that are employed by somebody else, there is a change coming to your work sector. And I don't feel like this is necessarily just to your place of work. I feel like this is to your specific industry. There's something about your industry and your company's image that they seem to be trying to clean up. It's like they're trying to, you know, maybe they've been tarnished. Maybe they, like, look at Facebook, right? Facebook's name, brand, all the rest of it was dirt, and then they tried to, you know, they've tried to transform it or change it into Meta. It's still the same crap. However, this kind of, you can't just slap a band-aid on it and suggest that it's healed. So watch out for that, because they will try to convince you that everything's shiny and new now that they're making these changes, and I'm not entirely sure it is. For those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that work for themselves, it looks like you're either appealing to a financial institution, which I would be mindful of at this moment in time. I've said this before and I will say it again. Jupiter retrograde is the worst time to take a loan or any form of funding, unless you were born with Jupiter retrograde in your chart, in which case it works slightly differently for you. But for me personally, the more I look at a Jupiter retrograde, the more I've come to understand and personally experienced, if you take a loan or any form of credit during a Jupiter retrograde, the chances are the time that it takes you to pay that back will be much longer, and there's always some kind of hiccup that takes place with it. This is not a time to borrow money from a large institution. With that said, for if you are a business owner and you are thinking about aligning with somebody to rebrand or to change what you're doing, this could be very good for you, providing you're not trying to erase your entire history. For those of you that are retired and no longer working, the High Priest card, and especially in this deck, in a lot of ways this card is about initiation. I feel like a lot of you are coming into a title, maybe the matriarch, the patriarch, the matriarch, like the whatever. It's like you're being thrust into a head position of something in your personal world, and it's like, oh, okay. You know, like once the grandparents pass, it falls to the next person down to become the matriarch of the family. This could be something like that. For your love and relations, you've got the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so I mean, especially with the Empress card, gorgeous energies here. For those of you that are partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, it looks like you're spending a lot of time in the natural world with your partner this week, which is gorgeous. Maybe that's where you're visiting the sacred site. For your, when it comes to this and your partnership, this is you and your partner really looking at the long term. This is you paying attention to your investments. For some of you, it looks like you might be cashing them in this week. It's not advice, it's just, you know, a prediction. The Seven of Pentacles with the Moon card, you might be looking at something and saying, well, you know, this has taken forever and it's probably not going to launch. If that is the case, I would invite you to think about whether you can hang on a little bit longer. Finally, for those of you that are single, there's definitely potential to meet somebody this week. Honestly though, because you've got the moon card here, and you know, this isn't to bash you in any way, you know, I love my Scorpios, but your intentions may not be as clear or as pure as you think they are. This would be a good week to check in with why you are trying to bag a certain person, and to be mindful of it, you know, because sometimes, you know, you get what you ask for, and then you realize it's a little bit of a nightmare. For your money and materials, you've got the Four of Swords. Hold back on the spending this week. Hold back on the spending, hold back on the big purchases, especially if something is pretty. If you're buying something for the aesthetic or because it's pleasing to the eye, hold off. Four of Swords is a wait card. Wait and see, wait back, hold back, don't go in for it just yet. Because you've got this here with the Hierophant card, again, this is not the week to borrow money. In fact, and I know Jupiter is going to be retrograde basically until the end of the year at this point, but for me personally, I've got to say, this is not the time to borrow money, all right? It really isn't. When it comes to your physical health and vitality, rest, recuperation, and ease are things that you are being asked to really put a lot of time and effort into. For your home and environment as well, how can you create a more restful environment in the place that you live? This is important this week, especially with that moon card, because it's going to give you the space and the energy that you need to think clearly. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.